that was quite a plane incident last night.
Well, I was flying American, but thankfully it wasn't my plane.
You weren't flying into Reagan. I got to tell you, I'm thinking twice about ever flying into that airport again.
Well, I often say that if you want to know who's in control of DC, just notice the corporate headquarters that is right in your line of sight as soon as you land in Reagan. And that, of course, is Lockheed Martin. So just kind of tell you all you really need to know.
I was just watching David Sirota on with Amy Goodman. And he was really, apparently he put out an article today really talking about some of the background about why this airport is so dangerous and why it is so overcrowded for how big it is. And I know you'll be shocked to know, but Congress always goes against safety and against the safety experts because they want more flights directly into DC because it's convenient for them and they're on the payroll of the airlines. So
yes,
it's just like everything else. But yeah, this is there. In fact, a couple of months ago, there was apparently a whole report, a whole thing about that this was a dangerous situation at this airport.
Well, this is something that got the arousal, if you will, of a lot of people that are hardened Trump supporters. Look, Trump a week ago decides that he's going to cut, FAA employees.
That's not why this happened, but
I'm not saying that it is, but
yeah.
make no mistake. You have to be cognizant of where things get cut and where cuts are necessary. One of the biggest problems we do have is the fact that the airline industry in particular are ones that made off like bandits during COVID. Like they really did. And what they did to their employees in particular was equally as disgusting. It is our job on our channel, when we talk about transforming politics into service, the service that we are providing is the type of information that the average person really needs to understand. So when they think on the surface level of what they are seeing and what they are hearing and understanding is very little, if any, to what's really going on.
Yeah. How is, I mean, I don't know what all the talking heads on CNN are saying at this point about the crash, other than constantly listing how many dead. And I mean, like they're doing all of that stuff.
I mean, I have my theory as to why it happened.
Well, to me, it goes back to everything. Well, first of all, this is a very unusual airport in that it is so close to where there are military maneuvers and military exercises and military flights. That is very atypical, which is another reason why there have been safety concerns that have been flagged, particularly about Reagan Airport.
Well, I mean, the Pentagon is literally, the Pentagon, I think, is 2 miles away from Reagan. So it's not.
This has been a known thing. And apparently safety experts and people that I don't know are concerned with public safety put forth much information. And again, this was David Sirota apparently had an article about this that was out and he was on talking with Amy Goodman. But apparently this was a known thing. And shockingly, our Congress is the reason that it is one of the reasons it's so bad there. But the reason that this particular safety stuff didn't go through was they want more flights because they don't want to have to schlep all the way to Dulles. And so they fight to have more flights even when it isn't safe to do so.
Well, the fact that it was a Blackhawk helicopter to me opens up Pandora's box. And look who is here this evening. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Thanks for checking in. I think it's by the way, Steve, Richard Wolff just did a really good 15-minute video about libertarianism. I think you would probably want to check that one out. To me, there's going to be a lot of questions left unanswered because of the fact that I get a little conspiratorial, as you know. I'm of the mind that maybe there was a very important person who passed away.
I think it was like a gymnastics team.
On the helicopter?
No, on the plane.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, well, it was like young. It was I'm not sure if it's gymnastics, but it was like there was like a traveling young people's sporting thing. Like that's because I was originally thinking, wonder who was on that airplane, but it was.
No, I was more inclined to say who was on the helicopter.
No, I'm more inclined to think that was just maneuvers and accidents, and it's just a matter of this is not where it's supposed to be. I don't think there's some vast conspiracy, but I was wondering. I wonder who's on that plane.
It's a Shonda.
Figure skaters was on the plane. So not national security threat, mind you.
I didn't think that they were, but I
No,
also.
but I'm not thinking the helicopter was either. I don't know. I think that it really was an accident. I do, but it comes down to, why would an accident like this happen when it wouldn't have to, when you were told months ago that this was a particularly unsafe situation, and yet no one in Congress gave enough of a shit to do anything about it.
Well, we all know what
That's what I
Congress.
think.
Well, what does Congress really care about?
Well, right. So I don't think there's some somebody
We're
was
going
trying
to talk.
to abuse people.
Well, no, we're going to talk about it with Keaton. What they really care about is looking good in front of the cameras. You see, that's what's important, Jen. You have to remember, keeping up with appearances and pretending to cry like Senator Warren decided to do, that's what matters.
Well, they'll never fail to take, an opportunity to profit. I mean, there's nothing better than crisis tragedy marketing. But I don't think there's some grand conspiracy, but I do think that it's just a sign of failure of our legislative branch and regulatory branches to protect people. And that, to me, comes down to corruption at the end of the day, and self-service, which is what those people in Congress are doing, is they're serving themselves. They don't want to have to, if they come from the middle of nowhere, Kansas, they want a direct flight, God damn it. It's like, that's how it works.
Well, I have accepted the fact that I am now buried in the Florida Panhandle, and I will literally have to connect into almost every airport.
Everywhere.
So, yeah, I am not going to make those demands. It's just part of life. Get used to it. But as we all know, so many people in positions of power, and is often the case in a lot of states, New York, not as much, California, not as much, but a lot of states where people become federal representatives after, let's say, being in the state house. You're talking about going from a state employee salary of maybe $40,000 a year to almost $180,000 a year. And that's not even accounting for all the perks. You probably get some degree of perks at the state level, but nothing compared to the federal level. So you put people in positions of power, and often is the case, and why we see so many yes men on Capitol Hill is because of the fact that they are now in a position that they know that they could never achieve in any other line of work. It's basically this, and they're capped. And that's why they want to be there. And that's why it's infinitely worse on the Democratic side, because they're not even skilled in the private sector. And what are my thoughts, Falcon Eye, regarding the helicopter passengers? I'll keep it simple. Sometimes when it's a government agency and they want to sweep something under the rug, they make it look like an accident.
Okay, first of all, most of the time when anybody wants something to get away with something, they make it look like an accident, okay?
Well, I'm not trying to get our channel more suppressed than it already is.
Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. And I honestly believe that in this case, the standard corruption is enough of a sufficient explanation as to how an accident like that could happen, that it's like it's hoof sounds, it's hoof clomping in Central Park, man. It's not zebras.
It might be a cigar in one way, and it might be a useful tool in another way.